that the issue of safety is key in the economy that we are living in. How do people perceive journalists? When I was a practicing journalist, I was offended by words of one director of a hospital, Arua Regional Referral Hospital. I went for a story, and the guy began to speak words and telling me that what does it take to be a journalist? Like very demeaning words. And when I remember that I had to go to school, some of us have to study for 4 years and beyond to get a degree in journalism and communication. The way he described, what does it mean to become a journalist? What do you people want? What is your problem? Why are you looking for people's trouble? Those are some of the words that have been used. Lastly, Patrick, one of the things, just in line with what Stephen has shared, is that we journalists have a role to play. It is until that we start to advocate for our rights is when people see the value. I want to see a world, and I'm building it where in my institution, when they don't see journalists, they now realize the importance. We are having a budget conference going on and the media is here. There's no media there, and I've never seen them looking for journalists like ever before. Where are the journalists? I said they are somewhere, they will come. And I said this is where we are moving to. When they will see the value of journalists, when they start to plan and include journalists and the media in programming, and that is where we're going to see a world where we will witness development. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Consulate, for sharing more on the issue of demeaning words. Well, let me have a comment in 1 minute from our senior citizen. And in case you have questions to the submission of Stephen, this is the time we'll take the questions, and then thereafter he will respond to them. Yes, senior citizen, you're most welcome.
I am sorry I'm going to leave here because I am wanted at a hotel next where I'm meeting a team from Zaire government. So I will make my submission straight. And impunity against journalists. It is the army and the police who inflict impunity on journalists, generally. These armed institutions of governance who destroy the equipments of journalists, arrests, detain, injure, or in extreme cases, kill journalists because of the following reasons. A, they do not know that journalists are impartial, they are non-partisan mirrors, which help the government in power to see any dirt on their backs, so that their leaders can improve their professionalism, rule of law, constitutionalism, and democracy. B, their commandants-in-chief at the material time misuse the powers vested in them by the Constitution by giving unprofessional commands to these personnel of the armed institutions of governance, e.g., calling unarmed civilians, journalists, and demonstrators as terrorists, and ordering the army and the police to shoot them with live bullets. C, the armed personnel do not want their unprofessionalism and indiscipline to be made known with the photographs by their governments and the people they are supposed to be protecting. D, they do not know that by arresting, detaining, destroying the equipment of the journalists, torturing the journalists, or the in some extreme cases, killing the journalists, as in Gaza by Jews. They are worsening their relationships with the governments and the taxpayers they are supposed to be protecting. Lastly, but not least, these personnel in these armed institutions of governance forget that they came from amongst these civilians, the taxpayers. After serving for 25 years, they will mandatorily retire and go back to live the rest of their lives with these same civilians, taxpayers they have been manhandling. They forget this. Way forward, education. That is dialogue in the fields of civic education, adult education, armed institutions education, constitutional education, above all, human rights education must always remain the top priority of any government. Civic education to all stakeholders. B, armed institutions of governance must know the difference between the offenders, the defenders, civilians, journalists, and handle each professionally at all times. Lastly, I wish to say, you journalists must make sure you are boldly labeled, and the armed personnel must deliberately identify these journalists at all times where they are enforcing orders and the rule of law. That is my submission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olekwa Jafari, a senior citizen. Well, before that, there was a submission from Mr. Stephen Chandia. If you have a question to him or related to his submission, this is the time I will take 3 more questions. Yes, senior citizen, thank you. As you mentioned, you have other duties and responsibilities. In case you leave, we really appreciate your time with us. Yes, safe journey. Okay, 2 or 3 questions, then we'll proceed to the next item. Yes, officer, you're most welcome.
Good morning. My name is Superintendent of Police, Asia Collins, and the Community Liaison Officer, and I'm also the police spokesperson for Western Region. I got this invitation 3 days back, but I was not informed. However, I was called in the morning. As per now, supposed to be in the delegates from Congo were supposed to be in Lesuba, but I decided to come here. I want to thank the organizer of this engagement. Please, we should continue. We should not do it all in December. Let us be, if funds are there, let us continue. Topic on the ground, the safety of journalists during crisis. Safety, I'm just going to talk about ability for any journalist to perform in a secure and a healthy environment. And this is for all of us, whether journalists, whether other stakeholders, were supposed to perform in a healthy and secure environment. But however, most cases, I call my brothers and my sisters, your work is in a risk area. Sometime in war zone, sometime in natural calamities where there is drought, floodings, and in most cases, people are not you don't have any protective gear. Sometimes some of these situations get you when you're on the ground. You are not prepared, but you must go and perform. It involves a lot of issues. Health environment, sometimes people, even in your offices, even at home, you are not safe. because mentally you are not safe. Economically, sometimes things are also hard because right now they say stories in Yumbe. You go right now, you don't have any means, but you must go and deliver. So those are the challenges we face. In terms of security, yes, those things are there. You see, in the past, trust me, we have been recruiting people who are not educated. Let us also agree on that. Sometimes, parenting also. You know, sometimes when you are brought up wrongly, you will grow up with that anger. In office, whether in police, whether in prison, whether in a minister's office, people grow up with anger. So when they are managing issues, for them, they manage in the village way. So at the end of the day, they extend such unwanted action toward my friends, this journalist. But however, government is changing. Things are changing. Because of late, for you to join police or to join army, at least you must have senior 4. And you must pass English or mathematics. It's not like those days they just take the heights. With the time, you must be tall or huge. No, these days they take the brains. With the time, things will change. But as things are changing, let us work together. When you have challenges, you tell us. I will also going to encourage we should continue training. We should train together. Like even some of you don't know the first aid. You don't know. If they tell you, to send you to a place where they flood, sometimes you are the first person there. You must know all those skills. First aid, how also to, in a crisis analysis. How do you prepare yourself in case there's a crisis? Do you have the jacket, bulletproof? You don't have. What about the safety shoes? You don't have. So sometimes certain issues happen to you, and at the end of the day, it affects your ability to perform. Yes, there are some issues sometimes during politics time. I was the view, let us work together. And I'm also going to come to some of you in your offices, because me, I'm still new in that office, but I want to learn a lot from you. And there are some of you who are training me. We shall write a proposal together and we'll have a training, that dialogue before election. We should not only meet time of election. When election now, you see police journalists, they're fighting. No, we're all one. We must protect, first of all, ourselves and the people, and then also the work where we're working. Because we can't go outside there, everything outside. At the end of the day, we're destroying Uganda. And it is our Uganda, the only Uganda. So if we all go outside there and we talk bad about your mother or your father at home, yet you are going to sleep at home in their garden. So at the end of the day, are you a responsible person? Are you responsible? So whatever we report, there must be responsibility taken. Your safety, the safety of that person, the safety of our institution, the safety of West Nile, the safety of Uganda, and internationally. When you put that one first, other things come in. But sometimes people, you put things personally. Personal issue, you now bring it in journalism. That's where the problem comes in. I'm going to stop here, and because I have another engagement, but we shall continue engaging toward the safety of journalists. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Police Superintendent Afande Asia, for your submission. I'm sure colleagues will wish to ask questions, and those questions could be of interest to you.
Thank you. My name is Lemeriga Fadil, for those who don't know me, but most know me here. If there's somebody who is very grateful to journalists, it's me. Actually, it is journalists who made me to reach where I am. You don't know how much the talk shows, the news that you normally come to ask me about, how far it has taken me. The current positions I'm holding, it is the airwaves that you provide, the airtime that you provided that lifted me to this position. So whenever in the kingdom there are public roles, I always make sure journalists are there. Unfortunately today, we have one or none. There's an important nation happening there. There were clans wrangling over Midigo Rock because the Chinese want to pay some good money. So everybody wants to claim that rock. So we want to ascertain to which clan exactly it belongs so that we apportion it equitably. And so many other things like the Bologna factor where 3 people were killed, so many others. We're going to be working together with journalists. However, the problem is the distance. Much as you are pointing out those challenges, some journalists have their own biases. Recently, we hosted Moon University officials in Yumbe. We called some journalists. They were actually running away. Why? Because to them, to say that it is us who were bringing Moon University to Yumbe was too much. They don't want to cover it. They were going for insignificant things, you see. So these are some of the challenges, some biases of human beings. But to a greater extent, journalists do a lot of work. I also aid their work. Whenever I have stories, I publish it. Then they pick from there, then they follow. At times I call indirectly. Actually, I was out here because I was talking to some journalists of some media houses because we have a program on Saturday. We have a film called Tuko Pamoja about the history of Uganda. It is going to be on Saturday at Tropical Suits. I did send a note to your chairman to be put on your platform. I believe you all read it. Yes, we have a very important function there on Saturday beginning from 4 to 8 p.m. The crew is arriving tomorrow. We're going to be there. So I will continue to engage and also continue to aid. The issue of the garbage here, the mayor talked about, it was me. I was riding in town. I got some women seated near the garbage place. What I did was to go and take their pictures, interview them, and ask them how many months they have not been paid their salaries. And I published it. And from there, it went viral. And they began following it. The mayor should not have said those words. Because as a public officer, you don't tell me that the garbage truck is down when you have other avenues to look for resources. You see? If people get there sick because of the garbage, will he treat them? If other problems develop, will he be able to address? So these are the critical. So we don't know what happens in your office. Ours is to put to you to task so that you produce results. So with my phone, with whatever avenues I have, I will be aiding your work. You take it from today, boldly. You can threaten me, but you cannot be threatening me always. Yes. So that's the little I wanted to say. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, when you are asking a question, go direct to it. We still have other panelists to make their submission, then thereafter, we'll have more time to have our discussions. Well, all this is being broadcast live on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can also share it, you can follow it, you can tweet it on X, and also on our various platforms. Let's keep sharing. Let's keep the world informed. And that's our cardinal role, to keep the world informed of what is happening. Yes. Dramadri, what's your question?
Right. Thank you very much. My name is Dramadri Frederick. I'm a freelance journalist attached to NBS Television and Uganda Radio Network. I'm quite not feeling well because many of the people we thought would be responding to some of the issues are actually leaving. But nevertheless, we still have some of them who are in the room One of the issues I'm raising is actually in relation to what Asia raised about the relationship between the police and the journalists themselves. Many times you see the conflict is mostly arising in terms of access to information. And once you fail to get this information, the response is mostly the altercations come like not the best way you would believe. Particularly since he has come newly in the office, this goes direct to him. If he would come with what he was raising, like having the dialogue engagements with journalists, it will be good. Because those utterances were direct to the journalists, and it was a platform for journalists and the police, where you bring in story ideas that we expected them to actually respond or maybe attend to journalists at that time. Secondly, if you talk about time of conflicts, maybe elections and other crises, covering these events doesn't mean this journalist is actually fighting with the security officers who have been deployed there. I've never seen a journalist throwing a camera or a police officer or a security personnel with his or her camera or maybe a recorder. But you see many times police officers coming with their guns or maybe battles, kicking journalists, even if the person is having the ID. This may not be changing during elections. So what is there in the plan, and also how will they actually, in this region of West Nile, come back to actually put this to an end? We have seen this reoccurring each and every time. Lastly, many times when journalists get into issues, maybe they are being attacked or maybe sometimes they are being threatened, they find difficulties in opening up a case, especially if it is concerning security officers. I remember I suffered when I wanted to open up a case against the deputy RCC this year. So that is one example that I will bring out. You go to a police officer, he tells you this case is above me. And then you go to maybe the DPC says, I can't help you in this. Not until we had to gather as a group to come for this. Is maybe the police station or Uganda police only for selected persons? And if you look at the way they investigate some of these cases, it is quite not really good. You will not expect a case that almost has all the evidence to delay for more than a month before it proceeds. This is not really normal, because if you are really doing your work, we expected you to do your investigations within a week or even 2 weeks, because this is just something like somebody is saying, I was attacked here, I am the person who was affected by this. So those are issues why sometimes people take to themselves to actually write about some of you personal officers. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Let me have a question down here, and then after that, we'll have Officer Asea in 1 minute. Yes.
Thank you very much, Patrick. My name is Moriku Janet. Like I said earlier on, I'm a journalist with Radio Patches. The mayor, just like you said, a number of them are raising very interesting issues, and unfortunately, they have other engagements elsewhere. We, as journalists, I think what he raised about partnership is very, very key for our work with you. And most of our work is really somehow ends up with public officers, private officers, or something like that. Unfortunately, the names Stephen was saying earlier on were being called. I'm one of the rats, by the way. An RDC somewhere called me a rat because I followed him up for almost a month to be able to get a story from him. So my question to the public officers specifically who are here is, as journalists run around, and as the mayor said earlier on, we are a very important part of the government. You swear an oath of secrecy. I don't know where media comes from or media comes in, but there is many times we seek for information for public good. For example, as we speak now, there is a story. I don't know if there is a media house that has been successful in getting this story from the hospital. Very unfortunate that the number of you will say, I've not been able to get it because the hospital director actually says, I am not accountable to the media. And this is where problems start from. Someone is going to say, you are attacking me. And then this is where we start to get the threats. These threats become intimidations. So my question to you is, what can the public officers do together to help journalists ease their work? Maybe to answer that a little bit in my understanding, when the senior citizen, Mr. Alekwa, before leaving, was talking about education, we really need this for all public officers to know. There is a saying in media that there is no bad publicity. But you actually sometimes I feel like you end up causing this, because I come to you and I say, hey, there is this issue. If surely I'm an important or crucial part of your work and we are partnering, why would you call me a rat? Because I'm following an issue that you very well know is of public interest. There are issues I am sure we might not be invited for, but where it is open, the public is there. What Mr. Lemeriga was saying there is another issue we are facing of citizen journalists. We have those who are not professional, but they pick these issues up because they are of concern to the community, and not even them personally, because I would ask, how will it affect him as a person? Definitely no. But somehow, it could start somewhere and then escalate, and then he is part of the problem. So, for me, the partnership he was talking about, for some public officers actually, it is an attack. And so when it ends...
The next 10 minutes, I'll remind you when you are left with the two to make your submission. First, as a lady engaged in the media, all these challenges that your colleagues are talking about, you might have heard about them or experienced them one way or the other. You're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Patrick. As a female media practitioner, the ground is not leveled just by being female. There are certain disadvantages that female journalists suffer more than the male journalists. I have been in media practice for more than a decade. I still remember vividly how it was, how I used to deal with mental health issues in the newsroom, where you have a lot of pressure from your bosses, a lot of intimidation, manipulation, just by being female, and how we would utilize the washrooms to go and shed a few tears that are supposed to be completed. I believe that female journalists in the house have experiences. You have pressures at home. You might be a mother, you might be a wife, and then you're also a journalist, and you have to deliver your duties as a journalist. I believe it is different for us. I want to say that as a practitioner who has been there, who has seen it, it takes resilience for us to advocate for safety. I believe in a world where we have to be agents of change. I used to be the kind who would keep quiet over so many things. I would see a lot of malpractices, injustices committed, and I keep quiet. I remember an incident when we were running an advert for a media house that does not promote the use of contraceptives. And in a meeting, I gave my view, because one of my bosses was saying that this has to be, we must run this story. And then I was giving my view that this is wrong. According to the policy of this media institution, we are not supposed to promote this. We cannot bite the finger that feeds us. And my boss then intimidated me with words, intimidated me, said a lot of things. And back then, I was very easy to cry because of those kinds of intimidation. I was intimidated to the extent that this boss said, some of us brought you here. If we did not speak in those panels when they were interviewing you, you would not be here. Stop speaking. Intimidation. And I kept quiet. I remember that day that boss failed to speak to me for a few days. I did not feel safe in the place. But eventually, I had to be out of resilience. I had to stand strong. Females face intimidation from fellow colleagues. I remember as an assistant news editor, I had colleagues who would intimidate me during story meetings in the morning. You try to send somebody for an assignment because you're female. They start speaking words to you so that you do not exercise your authority. Those were some of the experiences back then. Where I am, in a place where the media is not appreciated to the levels that we would desire, we still face those. We are the bit of appreciating the role of media and communication is still far. Thank you. So for me, I want to say that it comes back to me and you. We can only advocate for our rights ourselves, because if we leave it to other people, they do not understand the unique challenges that we face. They do not understand the conditions under which we operate. One of the things I do is media training, and I keep telling upcoming journalists that it takes me and you to do the advocacy. You cannot wait for government to do something for you. Government does not appreciate. What they want is the media should only cover and do publicity for the government. We ourselves as journalists have a role to play. Speak out. Use your platforms as a tool of advocacy. You have social media. I see instances where that some of us journalists, I appreciate the fact that we've come. I would like to see journalists interact with public officers. There are people here who have interested themselves. They are friends with the town clerk. They are friends with the mayor. They are friends with the RCC. That is the level of advocacy. How can you interact with the duty bearers, with the police? I wish us here, Mr. I don't know what, SP, that is, yes. I wish he was here. I have a few concerns for him. As he has joined this profession, he needs the media more than ever. I've seen him make a few mistakes in the way he's writing statements. And that is also the issue of safety. How do you handle the profession itself? So I want to encourage, for me, these are recommendations that let us make meaningful relationships with the duty bearers. When you're stuck in a situation, you make a call to someone who is in court. You have a contact. You have a lawyer somewhere. Some of us, we like to work in isolation. Dealing with issues of safety, you must be networks. You will call the RCC. There was a time when people were staging protests, this anti-corruption, this corruption allegations, and they brought it to the city. And when it came to the city that we got intelligence that people want to protest, the Gen Zs were trying to do the same thing in Arua. Intelligence was flying around and journalists came. A few names were mentioned, and my friend Sabir was mentioned to be one of those people who came up with those kind of ideas. But I saw the way the security committee of Arua City defended Sabir Musa. The RCC said, no, I know him so well, he cannot do such a thing. That is the level of his engagement. They have seen his work, they've seen his level of integrity, and they will go a step higher to protect him. So for me as a public servant, I want to encourage that let us not shy away. Some of us are, why we are acting as agents against ourselves. We want to work with the public officers at a place of always attacking. You're always attacking, and when you attack, naturally we defend ourselves. Public officers know which journalist is good, which journalist is objective, and in times of threats, you will see public officers standing for certain journalists because they've seen their level of objectivity. I want to add something about the way we conduct ourselves as journalists. Some of us, we are the ones who are working against ourselves. We are the ones causing issues for ourselves. The way you conduct yourself. What is your interest? Journalists, I'm currently studying communication development, and there's a lot that we can do as journalists. But one of the things that we do against ourselves is that some of us are so antagonistic. In everything we do, I've seen it at the city council. If there is a place that I have promoted journalism, it is at the city council, to the extent that in a meeting where the journalists are not there, it doesn't look normal. But some of us journalists, we cause these safety issues for ourselves. You choose to take a stand which is negative at all times. And that already presents an issue of safety to you, because you're dealing with the generals. You're dealing with the generals, and many people will do whatever it takes to protect themselves. Lastly, I want to encourage that let us be trained. Let us not tire of learning. Some of us do not know our rights as journalists. In my classes, some people are already practicing, but they don't even know the legal framework that governs the operations of the media. You ask them which articles do affect the operations of the media, nothing. You ask them, when you're caught in this situation, what will you do? They have no idea. If you do not seek for knowledge, your rights will always be violated. So I want to encourage that let us use the tools that are available for us online. Let us use the available resources. I'm so grateful that we have the West Nile Press Association. I am grateful for organizations like ACME and the many others, the Human Rights Network for Journalists. Let us be in these networks. We can only address issues of safety when we work together. Alone, you'll be abandoned. People will run away from you. And at the end of the day, we've seen journalists who have been imprisoned. We've seen journalists where nobody will go and visit you. You'll be arrested, and everybody says that were they not the ones who are looking for trouble? Especially, I've seen in government offices, when a journalist falls into trouble, you find them saying, this journalist is wicked, let them rot there. So you can only be effective when you're in a network. Let us advocate. Let us use our spaces to speak about the ills against the journalists. And finally, those who are media managers here, who are sitting as editors, as station managers, we sometimes let our journalists down. We are the ones who are perpetrating environments of violence and mental health issues in our media houses. If you cannot stand for your journalists, there are people who sit in high-level meetings and you're discussing your subordinates, and you cannot even protect them. Media editors, our bosses in these media houses, the issue of safety starts with you. If you cannot protect your own, you can't expect those out there to protect your own. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will take more questions. Also on what Consulate has submitted, nothing for journalists without journalists. You mentioned one key value, that is objectivity. Well, I look at this situation, now you are the spokesperson of the city, you need to have that excellent publicity about the city. And here you have a scandal of corruption. And this journalist has a good relationship with you for all this time and so on. But because of the issue of corruption has come, and as the journalist has landed on it, has published it, and you brand him or her an objective. Okay? Just that one incident, you brand the person. Okay. Let's have Senior Chandia.
Thank you very much. It may be complementary to what she has said. I've been tickled by two issues. One, for us to inform the people better, we need to be knowledgeable. That's our challenge. That's why she was saying, if we ask ourselves here, which laws regulate our operations as journalists, we may not be able to mention any. So that means that we need to broaden our understanding by exploring more avenues. Let's read more and more. These days we have a lot of materials online. We can be able to explore that so that you are more knowledgeable. You know, lack of knowledge can put you in the odds with people. But once you know, you speak out, you can be able to get yourself and others out. Two, the issue of us speaking out about these challenges we're going through is very good. She has just mentioned something, especially on the side of ladies. If you don't speak it out, then be sure you'll suffer with it. Afande Asia also said it here that sometimes we fear to report some of these issues to the police. It is like your own wife or husband may not want to report it to police because it is a family affair kind of thing. But for us as journalists, I think I would think that let us feel encouraged to speak out. One thing that helped me also one time, Ramadi will bear me witness. Some of us were almost going to be confined in Arua hospital ICU because we are doing much more. The only way was to declare us positive of corona, and I became a victim of it. So when I spoke out, can you imagine, they left all the MPs who spoke about them being declared corona positive because they didn't want them to attend the meeting with the president in the morning. People took attention on what I said. The little that I said was the focus. Now, how do you call me? You have never taken any samples from me. And two people from the health but said, please, where are you? We want to go and pick you. I said, I'm working. He said, no, can you tell us where you are? Because you have tested positive. I said, when did you take my samples? That was enough to get me out of this mess. Later, did I even know that this was a way of caging some of the journalists? Somebody just does something, but if you're not quick to understand, my friend, you'll go inside. I thank you.
Oh, thank you. Another person? Well, to you female journalists, we would love to hear more from you because you have so many experiences that you rarely get opportunity to share.
Thank you very much. I want to appreciate the West Nile Press Association and with support definitely from ACME for this beautiful arrangement that helps us to discuss the most intricate issues that affect our profession. And also allow me to appreciate the panelists with your different levels of expertise for indeed making very elaborate presentations. I hope, Mr. Moderator, I will not defer because you already cautioned us that we should toe the line of this most critical topic that we are discussing. But what I am speaking about is really not different from what the panelists have talked about. And I just want to make emphasis on a number of issues. That when we are discussing safety, we should not forget about responsibility as journalists. And a couple of issues definitely entail responsible journalism, and Senior Chandia and Senior Consulate already mentioned a couple of them. Of course, for us to appreciate that we have guiding laws which provide direction on what we should be doing every day as we practice this profession. We should be definitely able to appreciate that we need to be empowered. I was so excited when the mayor was able to ask, what else are we doing apart from this profession of journalism? Because if we are not empowered economically, then we expose ourselves to a number of vulnerabilities. The issues of extortion will emerge. You realize that many of us have faced conflicting situations because we got ourselves compromised as we practice this profession. And so it's critical that we pay attention to economic empowerment. For me, that is really, really important. Social accountability. As media practitioners, we come from communities, we come from families, and the issues that we report about either affect or infect the communities that we live in. And so, so we need to be aware about, our relationships with our families, with even our peers, fellow colleagues in the profession. It's very important that we appreciate that. The president calls us rumor mongers. I remember Senior Chandia mentioned that. And why does he continuously refer to journalists as rumor mongers? This largely relates to sometimes the lack of patriotism. I think the chairman, the mayor was concerned about how sometimes we paint our city in bad light. And while it is important indeed that we should be able to dig out, issues that relate to development, our job is mainly to I do not need to lecture you. It's about, unearthing what is hidden. And so sometimes we go beyond responsible journalism. We forget about a country that belongs to all of us. And so we think that somebody says there's no story worth your life. So we take risks which sometimes are beyond and that expose us to great danger. And so at the end of the day, we run the risk of either losing our lives, or our property and so on. So I think it's important that we appreciate some of these values as we practice this profession. So yes, it's important that we have this sort of engagement quite regular, so that we're able to discuss in greater detail what affects us with different stakeholders and duty bearers. And I'm sure this will help to grow our profession, grow our interactions, and expose us indeed to greater knowledge, so that we're able to grow our industry and our profession. I would like to thank you so much, ACME, and WENPA, plus the panelists, for indeed speaking to us on this very important matter. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, next question. Then thereafter, we'll move to another panelist. For journalists, they are safe, but we need to guarantee safety of all.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I came in a bit late, and that's why I was hesitating to talk to you. But when I heard my sister sharing her experience, it triggered me, because one of the people who suffered in the field during the by-election, I think I spent like a year trying to run here and there. I would switch off all the gadgets I had a week or 2 weeks before the opposition guys went to court. Every time they would report to Gulu, I would be nowhere to be seen. I would find a place where there was no network, and then I switch off all the gadgets, because people were following me. At one point, I got a car at my compound. The windows were down, and it was 6 in the morning. So some of the guys at home saw the car. No one of us owned a car, so they were like, who came out this morning? So when they saw that there were some guns, like these shotguns, the pistols just there, they ran for their lives. So when I got to know about the situation, I just knew that they were following me, and they just wanted to show me that they could get me if they wanted to. Later on that day, I received a call, and someone was like, "We are serious. We know where you stay. We know where your mother stays. If you don't give us the information that we want, you will face it rough." I kept on telling these guys, they were the same people following Nankanja. I kept on telling these guys, I don't have the information that you want. If you want to get it, please just go to NBS, because whatever I covered that period of time, I handed it to NBS, and then I lost my laptop, so I don't have any information. These guys kept pressing and pressing, not until one time I was got and taken to a place to do a story on gunpoint. I was taken to, there's this chairperson, I don't remember, was it chairperson LC3 or LC1 of a village, who said that he was beaten by the NUP guys, the People Power guys. That time it was People Power. And he wanted justice. So these guys took me there. We got the guy at his house. I was seated like this, and then here there was one person, and here all they were all armed, and they told me to start recording. Funny thing was, I think they didn't know how camera work works, because for me I was recording, and then someone would be like, "Can you stop recording? Stop recording. You want to tell him what to say," and it was recorded. So I was like, okay, I've stopped recording. They would coach the guy. Don't say that. You say this. Don't say. And, you know, the story did not air, because I took that very proof to my producers that I was taken to this place to do a story, and this is the circumstance under which I brought the story. So it was not aired. But during this whole scandal, I was not helped by either security or even my own media house. I would make calls that this is happening, and they would just tell me, just keep safe, just stay where you are, just keep safe. When I went to police to report a case of people who were trailing me, I wasn't helped. The case was not registered. What happened was, I would go to the reception. The reception was like, we cannot help you here. Go to CID. I go to CID there. We cannot help you here. Go to homicide. I was like, what is this? So one time I went to the homicide office, and the person who was there knew exactly what was happening and what these guys were like, what they wanted. He wrote for me the case number of that Gulu case and showed me, and then ate it, and then told me to go and find help somewhere else. So this was all happening because they knew I was a boy. I am just a woman who would just give up easily like that. But I didn't. I didn't give up. I just stood my ground. I told these guys, I don't have whatever you want. So that's one thing. And then another thing that I wanted to add is the stereotyping that is happening when it comes to female journalists. You can ably see that our numbers are really small in the field, but even us who are there, our competence is questioned by many people, our employers, the people in the field. When you want to do a hard story, they will not assign you to do that hard story. They would say, Mara, you want to do that story? You're sure? No. Let us give it to Cohen. Because stories like, politics, going hard on politics, people don't believe in us. Our competences are always questioned, and this brings about limited opportunities and roles. We are confined to soft stories like lifestyle, Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Members, we really have unique experiences in the field and also with the various media houses. Let me just pose to you a question. Has someone ever given you money to kill a story? You may not tell us your experience, but let's hear from this, our colleague, and then after that we'll have Bonara DC.
Thank you very much. Let the protocol be observed. I'm not answering to the question you've just posed, but I'm supplementing to my friend Nankanja, as of course an experience in the field that we are in right now. I'm a mother, and of course as you go to the field, you share that you are a mother, you're married. These things, they know it, but still, of course, the advances will come. But mine is now a question. I must say that I've not been out of that. Of course, I had been one of them, one of the victims, and of course, that is a crime or injustice on us, because you've explained yourself, but someone is not understanding. And then the question is now into RDC, that we have a lot of these people that we know very well that have advanced to us, but we have said no. And this has given us a fear that if you go to the field, sometimes you want to go, that is your source, you want to go and get your information from that source, and is still asking you, are you ready or no? If no, how can I help you? Because you also need my help, and I need your help. Now, the question is, after all these advances, you are now denied access to information. Should we publish these people and they are ashamed or not? That is number one. Then number two, does the city or district, because these journalists are working for the district and the city, does the city or district have a strategy set in place as in their constitution that protect journalists' rights? If yes, can you highlight for us what you're going to do as a city? And if not, what are your plans as a city or district for journalists' rights? Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. The issue of sexual harassment, exploitation, and abuse has also been tabled before you, RDC. Well, I see Communication Officer Arua City Consulate wants to have a word. Then after that.
Thank you. I've really appreciated the submissions from fellow female journalists. We could go on and on to really let people know of our experiences. About the issue of people hitting on you, trying to date you, I think it's not, the truth is, as a woman, men will always come. I was sharing with RDC here that it's not wrong. I remember my colleague Chandia, we used to be together, we were partners going to the field together, and one time an army officer was trying to show interest in me. Chandia was like, you accept so that we can eat some lunch. So that we can eat some lunch. I said, he used to motivate me. Yeah, but of course I told him, no, I'm not ready. You have your will to say no, but you can also, people afford partners in the field. It is allowed, it is not wrong. It's only when they harass you when it becomes bad. I've also seen people who have interested themselves. You become a beat reporter, for instance, in hospital health, and you start to pursue a career from, you get opportunities. As journalists, let's not shy away from getting better opportunities. People have become PROs just because of how they've related with their sources. So as ladies, we also have a power that we can use to get whatever we want. Let it not always be on one side. The source should not always be the one to manipulate. We can also use those networks to get to a better life. Thank you.
Yes, I see you have 10 minutes. I'll remind you when you're ready to.
Before I start using my 10 minutes, I think we have deviated from one, the earlier on agreed program, but also two, how we are guiding the proceedings. Because now we seem to be more into plenary discussion than, than panelist discussions. You people are already getting me worried that even when I admire female journalists, as a man, I should not express my feelings. I don't think it is unconstitutional. It is allowed both in my culture and in the constitution. The human rights fella is here. So long as you are not juveniles. It is now incumbent upon you. You know, for some of you, I have lived on the streets of Arua for the last 14 years. Recently, someone was trying to take me through the life in Arua. That, you know, Arua, you need to do ABCD. And the mayor here was smiling. Afterwards, then mayor reminded him that, are you aware that this guy has been in Arua longer than you? That put aside, I really want to thank God that we have an opportunity to interact and freely share experiences today. It is very rare that we have an environment where, for example, journalists share their experiences without fear or favor. And I think, to me, I take it as an achievement that we've come a long way, but we are now in a situation where an RDC sits and people are free to share the ills of the government. I was even quoted out of context because we were talking about corruption, and I said, you know, when it does not, you shout at the peak of your voice. But let it touch your own. You are the first person who will come to RDC's home and say, now this issue here, how do we handle it before it gets out of hand? There is this issue of how have we reached a point where we are facing all these intimidations and harassments? We are saying it is important sometimes we share, we compare notes, we consult, we coordinate. But because now you have a perception that Jawako Dennis last time wanted me as his girlfriend, but I turned him down. No, I cannot. So that is where we get it wrong. We had some journalists who came, I think, from Kampala to cover a story at the border point. This is a government installation of security interest. Congo is hosting our enemies, the ADF. And we have arrested on many occasions suspects and their agents, even in Arua city here. So I stopped them from covering the activities at the border. I told them they can do anything they want within the district, but not at the border. They needed clearance from National Security Council through the Minister for National Guidance. It did not make sense to them. They came back to the city, landed on one of the, I don't know if that guy is a journalist, but I think he is a journalist who is yet to complete his course, TOK. Yes, they came to him, so he promised him, this is my friend, I will talk to him. So when I let them down, the story was different. You know, these RDCs who were picked on the street after shouting, yellow hoye, you know. I have also ever been attacked by you guys when you host me on radio. That time, none of you even knew I was a graduate of economics. I was attacked personally, not until I said, now, we have not come here to discuss qualifications. We are discussing the topic at hand. How we handle certain things. It is very tricky, especially for these guys who host talk shows. You are aware one day you were forced to switch off, to go off air and play an advert to handle a situation in the studio. We saw it on NBS when it became so hot. Now, some of you, as if the devil in you is bigger than the Holy Spirit in you, that you look for those sensitive issues. It's like you are asking a man who has been in marriage for 10 years, if it's true he doesn't have a child. The guy who does not have a child has been looking for it for 10 years. Fadil, is it true that you are impotent? Now, this is where we start from. And I am glad my brother here raised that issue of some security operatives who have been recruited. We should all appreciate that during COVID, we first had crime preventers. And then we later on had LDUs. You guys don't need to be told how these people were behaving. So most of these guys we have, especially in UPDF, are graduates. These are upgraded LDUs in most cases. So we also have issues with them. Recently, you would hear a different story. I was in Kuluva when a gentleman almost caused an accident to me. I was driving. He came and made a U-turn in front of me. So my bodyguard came out and wanted to shoot him because Irene was hiding on a tree. My bodyguard is a Karamojong, and you know what they have gone through over time. So when we are talking about conducts, sometimes we should find a better way of bringing out certain things. There is someone who asked me on radio openly, NRM is now very unpopular. So what are you guys going to do? He is trying to portray me that I have gone on radio to mobilize for NRM, yet you also expect me to serve other people who subscribe to other parties. The CSOs, the civil society organizations, we should all appreciate. You have a woman you have married. She is not going to meet your expectations 100%. If there is anybody whose wife or husband meets the expectation 100%, put your hands up. Now, let us concentrate on at least she is, she's well behaved, she's a prayerful woman, she cooks well. Even if the nyash is halfway, the one for the neighbor, that one will not be your areas of interest. Government has made an effort to attach, first of all, we consider you as a fourth estate. You guys play a very crucial role in promoting the values, our national values, even outside the country. So sometimes we say, some of these things that happen here, it is like your father probably puts on a very torn boxer. And somehow, because you want to be seen like you are an advocate for hygiene, you are telling neighbors, the way Moses behaves, if you see the boxers he puts on. You know? Sometimes some of the things I have seen on many platforms where people are celebrating, let them cut the aid that is coming to Uganda. Yes, there could be cases of corruption, but is that what we are going for? Is that what we want? Our government has done a number of good things that also favor journalists. Now, there are those ones, especially cases of safety. You are going to cover a riot, for example, and somehow, somewhere, you find yourselves with the rioters on the other side. When we go harvesting white ants, for us we say anything that falls in that hole we dig to collect white ants is considered white ants. It is not until you reach home then you start sorting that this is not white ants. So what I'm trying to call upon you is, let's not create a gap. The reason why we are here, let us compare notes, let us consult, let us coordinate. You know, I will tell you, you have ever been caught up in situations with the rioters or the initiators of this violence. It becomes very tricky. As I conclude, in the last elections, you also, I think it was on Kampala Road, where some people were wearing NRM t-shirts. Women were being undressed. Who did not see that video clip? Okay? But I can tell you when we were discussing that, they will still say, unfortunately it comes from some journalists, not all of you, that it is NRM who started. So is it because Zake provoked a call, then it is okay for a call to box Zake? Or we would say, Zake first of all shouldn't have provoked him, The guy was demonstrating how he can punch. It was captured on TV. At that level in parliament, can't you say, okay, you've sat here, let me sit somewhere else? Is it true we are fighting over seats? So sometimes the issues we raise, and it is captured by international community, that is supposed to come and help us, are issues that we could handle here. So I call upon you, just like him, learning is a process. Sometimes when you're going to cover these things, I like some journalists, they will even ask and say, can we move together? And by the way, I went with journalists. Some of them are here. I will not mention their names. And the story that came out was the opposite. I have not attacked any of them. We went to commission boreholes. Boreholes. And when we reached there, one of them was not functional because they had removed the cylinder. So I refused to commission. I refused in the presence of God. What did I see the following day? Arua RDC goes to, commissions a non-functional borehole. You people are talking of harassment. This one is playing with both my job and also my integrity. So let us be objective, like somebody said. Let us verify informations. Let's verify informations. These things of one-sided reporting does not make sense. So, as other panelists and other speakers had shared their recommendations, let's continue seeking for more knowledge. Let's read. Let us consult. Let's coordinate. We know you play a big role. That's why we call you the fourth estate. We know you inform the community. You disseminate some of these programs that we are promoting. Let us work together. I want to hear one day I went to office of RDC, I was chased. Then you can put me on the spotlight. If you cannot work well with a certain RDC or RCC, Jawako is here. Through me, you will still communicate. I really want to thank you. I am always here. I want to thank especially those ones who have given me platforms on radio to go and be roasted, because for you, you know when I'm going there. It is easier to make good recommendations when you're watching from the touchlines. I used to watch on Doparaka with Lemeriga. He lied to us, he was bringing for us Chelsea players, and up to now we are waiting. I imagine if the government goes to DP, what kind of lies you will tell us now. And Walter, we used to watch football. We would see, this one should have scored from here. So it is very easy to play softball when you're from outside. But when they give you the opportunity, so please kindly come and tell us you can do better this way. What if we try it this way? Because even the manner in which you try to correct us matters a lot. How I wish that we have a number of platforms like this. You have ever organized barazas, the CSOs. I go. We give our accountabilities. You can even have another forum like this. I want more of those feedbacks where the female journalists, especially, the male journalists are keeping quiet, and yet you are also going through situations. But I also know some of you lie. I know of a journalist who faked his own kidnap. It is there on record. During the elections, the youth elections in Gulu, where the son of General Tema Wan was eventually elected, Oscar Omon, a journalist faked his kidnap. Up to when we went and picked him from where he was, they said, you come. So I want to thank you. Honestly, all of you I have interacted with, you have done a lot for this government. All of you I have interacted with, you have done a lot, and I want to encourage you to continue doing a lot. Those ones who are trying to frustrate your work, come to us. We all have the instruments of power from the same appointing authority. Come to us. Let us make Uganda a better place to work in. Thank you.
Thank you very much, RDC, for that submission. Well, colleagues, we are getting closer to the end of our dialogue. I will only give one opportunity for Aluma Habib. He is representing Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. Yes, Habib, you're most welcome. You had other engagements, you arrived late, but I'm sure you are not at par with those who started earlier on. I'll give you 1 minute to make a submission. Most certainly, it's going to be from religious perspective, because all these media houses, they cover religion too. And religion being part and parcel of our life, without God, won't be here. Please, you're most welcome. You could ask a question or your own submission, but our focus is on the safety of journalists during crisis and also emergencies.
Yeah, thank you. As said, my name is Aluma Habib. The regional secretary for the Muslims of West Nile. Dennis can as well say that the assistant secretary is right. I want to thank those who came, and I want to thank the journalists who actually covered the news about the accident that got my daughter last night. My daughter was knocked on Inyao Road by the bus belonging to St. Mary's Diofe. She's hospitalized, and I've just been with the police making statements and chatting a way forward with the school. And that's the reason I have actually just arrived. Sorry for coming at this time. I felt guilty because I've been a football person, and Dennis was a footballer when I was a referee at the national level. I actually officiated him when he played for Navy Central. But I'm not the referee he was talking about when he tried to compromise, because I was uncompromisable. Otherwise, thank you for the articulate submission that I have had him give, and earlier on, my brother, Jonathan Brilliger was giving. As a religion person and a member of the Interreligious Council of Uganda, I may not necessarily speak about Uganda Muslim Council or the Muslim side alone. I have looked around, I have not seen any person from the diocese. Yeah, he's there, my colleague is there. But with honor, I want to appreciate the work that the media fraternity have been doing for humanity, because we have a very strong belief that indeed information is power, and the people whose profession is about information dissemination and communication are the people we are discussing about today. I want to thank you people so much, and on behalf of Uganda Muslim Council, I have personally run so many conferences with you people, and I've engaged many of you to cover the information about our activities, and you have done it ably. So I joined the rest when we are discussing about the plight. I know the conversations here are just concerning what happened to journalism within our local environment here. But those of us with the globalization of the world today, we are even interesting ourselves in about what is happening to us in the Middle East, at Gaza, what is happening, what happened to journalists in the country. I'm a person who was affected when Shirin Abu Akleh, the female journalist who was actually sought by the Israel police. One who has been working for Al Jazeera. I didn't like the circumstances in which she met her fate. Just killing her because she was getting information on what is happening to be given to the public, which is a human right as well. The Jamali Khashoggi issue, the celebrated Saudi journalist who was killed by agents of the Saudi government in Istanbul. You remember in 2018, the Ugandan journalists, I still remember Frank Nyakairu, the Daily Monitor journalist, the events that surrounded him when he was discharging his duties as a journalist, the stories of Opoka, and there are so many media practitioners who actually met very bad fates when it comes to. I want to ask government, I think the RDC is here, creating the conducive environment for the informers, the media houses, actually to do their job professionally, should be a duty that the government should stand. We should stop using media people as agents for our aspirations. I know why the media people find themselves victimized. Everybody is struggling to have their case given the way they want, and that struggle is actually what makes the journalists to actually be victims of circumstance. So I think the world should really give the really freedom for those who learn information sciences and give out to the public what they least want. There are people who do not know what is happening in their villages, especially when they are in urban areas. And they get some of the, like now in social media, I have seen a platform about funeral announcements. And I want to tell you, I even learned about the demise, the death of my father-in-law who died recently. That is Dudu Andaku from Kampala. And I didn't get a phone call from the family members, but I heard about his death. And definitely I was made now to participate in the funeral services through the social media information. And that is actually the role the media play. I want to join and pray, and I want all of us to pray that the media people should be protected. They should be given a conducive environment. We should promote professionalism and give them the opportunity to perform their duties, even if it is hard for us to take when our information is given out. Finally, for us as Muslims, media plays a very big role. The work that over 124,000 apostles of God actually did to humanity was media, was giving the information, the divine message of God to the people to correct their moral behaviors and so forth as they ascribe to get a good life both in this world and also without forgetting and compromising their hereafter. That is the work that the messengers of God did, and the principle in Islam is very clear. God says, speaking the truth, giving out the information which is truthful, is actually a way of worshiping God, and it shows a high level of obedience. And in a verse in Arabic which says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa qulu qawlan shadida. God is telling that those who believe in Him as the Creator and the giver of life and the sustainer should actually fear God and always speak the truth, do the rightful things always. And that is the principle of journalism. And I'm asking all of us really to do the right things, to speak the truth. So this goes to the media people. When you are reporting, give us the most truthful information. Let it be researched. And you usually have what they call cross-examination. Get information from all the sides so that you get a well-balanced information to give out to the public. Thank you. And that is my contribution for this show.
Oh, thank you very much. That is Habib from Uganda Muslim Supreme Council. We have representative from Madian West Nile Diocese. You have 2 minutes as for your submission. Then thereafter, we'll have our last submission from the plenary session. That will be from civil society organization. Then after that, we'll conclude with human rights discussion.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ivan Manaba, the sitting communication officer for the Diocese of Madi West Nile. I'm a professional journalist, just graduated of recent, and also a media practitioner. And as a church, we want to appreciate and honor the media fraternity and even the journalists for the enormous role they play in building up and shaping the church, especially the news and the communications that come. Is a great idea that they are making a great impact for us as a church and as a community of believers. And an example is what happened yesterday in one of the news that popped in about one of the priests of the diocese sitting for his primary 7 examinations. Many people were not aware. It was until yesterday when the news popped up that people knew that someone like that was sitting for his exams. And it was because of the power of media and journalism. I want to appreciate the journalists who covered that story. And it is important that it has bonded us together. But as a church, the church has an important role to play, I believe, in supporting journalists and media personnel, especially during crisis and emergencies when their work can be dangerous and emotionally taxing. And one of the things that I believe as a church that we can do is to provide spiritual and emotional support, especially to our fellow brothers. And this is always a practicing thing. And I remember the West Nile Press Association can bear witness of this, that at least every year or pre-annual that my diocesan bishop has a meeting with them. And it's always a spiritual impacting moment for them as the press and the journalists. And so that support is important, and the emotional support, the traumas that they go through, especially in covering the stories and the difficult moments that they go through in the field is one of the things that as a church that we believe that spiritual bond is important. And secondly, that the promotion of awareness and advocacy for press freedom is important, raising awareness, especially to the congregations and educating the congregation about the risks that journalists face. And as a church, especially the Church of the Province of Uganda, every October, the last week is always the media week. The Archbishop of the Church of Uganda made a pronouncement last year that every October is a time that they celebrate the media, and they always do that to appreciate and commemorate the journalists for the work that they do. And so it is important that such times are used and the days are used to educate the Christians about the impact and the importance and even the risks that the journalists face, and is fostering the respect for the role of the media and encouraging prayers and support for the press freedom, and also advocating for justice and safety. And the church can speak out against violence and injustice against journalists, calling for accountability and improved legal protections for the journalists is one of the mandatory roles that the church plays. Not only the Christians, even in our brother Muslim faith, that they do that. Creating those awareness is important. And also the practical assistance and the church can partner with Christian counselors and mental health professionals, provide free and low-cost counseling. Especially, this was done of recent, especially in Kampala, that through the partnership with Mengo Hospital, that such steps were taken by His Grace the Archbishop during those moments. So those physical counselings and health checkups is very important, so that as a church that we will be able to see that these journalists are mentally secure and sound, even as they go out there to do their work and perform their roles and their duties, that they will be able to do what they are supposed to do because of having a secure and profound mind in doing the work. We want to appreciate as a church the role that the journalists play. The moment that any mistake arises, it is through the media that they will know the weakness and the strength of the church. So as a communication personnel, I want to appreciate and honor and give my gratitude for the journalists, for the work that they do. And through this, that we will be able to see the progress of our performance and the work that we do together in journalism. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. That is Manaba. Colleagues, you clearly see the extremely important roles that you play in development of our community. There's no section that you have never given attention to, including even people with the physical impairment. Well, I'll give 1 minute. We are always patient. We give time for other people, but this time we need to hear from them about what we do and also our safety. Let them also advocate for us too. Yes, colleague, you're most welcome. Mozamili, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not Mozamili, I'm Achid Efre. I've sat here for Massimo Chotoko, Wade. And I want to thank so much for you people for this organization. I have several questions in my mind. And I'm one of the persons who loves journalism so much, though I don't do it. And I'm somebody who really attracts journalists around every time when I have my activities. Especially when I was in Arua Hill Division. You remember every week we used to hear about Arua Hill. Arua Hill. That is what we used to do with you people, and we love you so much. But I have a lot of questions. I have one famous journalist who was working, Sabit, Joseph Sabit, who used to work for one of the TV stations in Uganda, that was NBS. And during our elections, I used to see a lot of wrangles. I used to ask myself, how can we make our journalists so safe in their activities? Why are they getting a lot of injuries in their activities? Why are their gadgets always picked when they are doing the activities? But none of the security agents have ever answered this question. In our many engagements in Kampala, even in Arua, I've asked these questions. But one RDC has picked a point at a certain level saying that sometimes they always like standing with the rioters. That's what he said. But I want us to be very careful and say that, answer this question. Why are we always getting their gadgets destroyed at a certain point? Where should they stand when they want to cover their games or their news? Because they have to cover both the rioters and the security. Where should they stand when they're having this? Because we are already entering to another session whereby we need you much more in our campaigns, in our elections, in other activities. 2, I want to thank you people so much, because whenever we have our activities, most especially the visual impaired, the persons with disability, in very many areas when we are having our activities, you're always standing with us. We want to appreciate you people so much. More activities are yet to come, but we shall be with you. So when we are doing this, I want to say that we need to really coexist. Government issues are there. RDC has said there are points where we, the government, we also do wrong, but some of us don't want that wrong to be exposed. Journalists are our side mirrors, just like the way opposition does. But how are we doing the ruling government? Some of us, you know, as they say, journalists, we like taking the wrong more than the right. But sometimes the wrong is there, which needs not to be done, which is not allowed to be exposed by we, the government. There was a news one time that ran here during our by-elections. The news ran in the evening. The next day, the spokesperson of the police came and there was a conference.
At the end of the day, it is a community that should benefit. One key player that we normally work with is civil society organizations. Well, I'll give 2 minutes for you to pose your question because in one way or the other, you have been with us and you'll continue to be with us. You have seen it all. Our safety, where it has not been guaranteed, you also witnessed it. You're most welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aikoro Flavia. I'm sitting in for the ED who is engaged somewhere else. First of all, I really want to appreciate the organizers of this dialogue. It has come in a very sensitive moment where we are entering into the election, which is a bit sensitive. First of all, I want to appreciate the media so much. As a civil society, they really do a lot for us. They sell us out because most of us are donor dependent. So they really sell us out. When we do our engagements and those things are seen on media, the journalists, they sell us a lot. So my input here, as public servants, let us look at the journalists as our eyes and mouthpiece. Because in areas they reach, we as public servants, we cannot reach. So we should actually take advantage of them and appreciate their work so as to make a better Uganda. Then to our journalists also, as we strive for our safety, we should also ensure that we abide by the laws that govern our nation. Because sometimes when we are doing our things, we leave the laws aside. Let us also be guided by the laws that govern our land. Then the last thing I wanted to put was the safety of these journalists. It starts from the employers themselves, the media house. What is there in place for the media house? You're sending your journalists out. What protection do you have for them? What is your backup in case they get into challenges in the field? What stand do you take? Do you stand for them, or do you back them? Their safety starts from you as the media. Thank you so much. This is my input.
Oh, thank you very much, civil society. Colleagues, the issue of our safety is priority, not only for ourselves, but also for the community that we serve. In summary, a lot of issues have been raised here: violence and intimidation. Of course, after this, we are going to the issue of human rights, which summarizes all our everything. Targeted attacks, of course, the censorships are there, either by government or using the laws and so on. You have the issue of sexual harassment, and also the issue of insecurity at workplaces, privacy erosion, then the issue of social media challenge. Well, Mr. Bosco, one thing I can guarantee to you about journalists, those demeaning words, this should actually stop. Journalists are some of the most brilliant people we have in the community. Just to join the course in a public university, check the cutoff point. It's after law. If it's not 48, it's 47 or 49, and you might find law is 50. And the course takes 4 years. How many years does medicine take? Also 4 years with the 1 year of hospital practice. But at the end of the day, when these colleagues graduate, they come to the field. Some of their rights get abused. Some are paid peanuts. Some are called demeaning words, as you heard from them. I'm just giving summary. Some of their monies are delayed. Some get sexual harassed as they do the work. And others, they're intimidated. Others get beaten. We all give, duty bearers give all kinds of justifications. Believe me, you'll come to an office, they will have a justification for whatever you have gone through in the field. Either you have been on the side of the rioters, you have been collected with the white ants without knowing that you are not a white ant, you are a termite. Sometimes as you go to register your issue, it takes long. We heard from you all those experiences. Sometimes justice is not served in time. It's long, it's a very long story. But we have our rights that we need to protect as we do the work. Yes, Mr. Bosco, you stand on our behalf to talk best when it comes to human rights, and will not get tired to come to your office. And if there have been challenges, you can also highlight them. You have the next few minutes to make your discussion. We kept purposely the issue of human rights to close the discussion. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much, moderator. I've sat here and listened attentively to the experiences that have been shared here, and all of them touch on human rights violations and abuses. The safety of journalists touches on all of us as human beings. Like I said before, that when a journalist is killed, a journalist is beaten, a journalist is detained, a journalist is kidnapped or tortured, whatever happens to a journalist, this silences the voices of thousands of people. However, as we discuss this regarding human rights of journalists and the safety of journalists, I want to add on my voice to the rest of the panelists here. The senior citizen here talked about education, talked about empowerment of both the journalists and other stakeholders, especially the duty bearers. I want to agree with them, and I want to say that when you are educated, when you are empowered on human rights, it's easy for you to demand for your rights. But when you don't know anything about your rights, it's also easy for you to keep quiet. So here, what we are saying is that we really need to empower all our journalists in the region here. I remember we last had a training with the journalists some time back, but more trainings are coming in, come next year. We are looking at the campaigns, we are looking at the elections. So we have so many activities lined up to build the capacities of the journalists, but also the duty bearers. The journalists have a duty to report accurately. Journalists have a duty to report professionally. Journalists have a duty to report truthfully and objectively. However, at times, like the rest of the panelists have said, we are always caught up somewhere off guard. And we are being seen as people who are reporting only on one side. We are one-sided. This shouldn't be a journalist, a professional journalist. This should be someone else, not a professional journalist. We know very well that today, the world of today, social media is there. Everybody can report anything. And especially wrong information goes very fast. And you find somebody forwarding to a different forum, another one also forwards. When you try to trace for the source of the information, you may get lost. But for a professional journalist, you're supposed to know where your information came from. You're supposed to report based on the evidence. Evidence-based reporting should be for a professional journalist, ideally. So sometimes the experiences we've had here, we've shared here, I want to say that sometimes the approach, like the RDC said, the approach, how do you approach somebody for information, to get information? How do you approach this, especially the new faces? I was bombarded by some journalists from Kampala. They said, we are journalists from Kampala, we are here to interview you. I said, I don't know you. And you cannot get any information from me unless you identify yourself very well. And here in West Nile, we have journalists as well. What you can do, contact one of them, I talk to them, or you call them to come here to identify you. Otherwise, I can't give you information. I might give information to a wrong person. Much as you're carrying these IDs, this can be printed anywhere. And my information goes to a wrong person. So these people had to call one of the journalists, and I confirmed. That was how I ended up giving them information and allowing myself to be interviewed. Otherwise, sometimes you can approach this person, it's a new face, the person is new to you and you're new to the person. And the person will not be comfortable giving you the information you need for security purposes and otherwise. So when it comes to education, we are all aware, the rest of the panelists have talked about it. You need to know your rights. You need to know the laws governing your rights. Like Konsi asked here, if, for example, right now, we ask all of us here that what laws do govern journalism in Uganda. Some of us may not be able to mention them. Which article in the Constitution talks about the rights of journalists, protects the rights of journalists, talks about access to information? Some of us may not be able to mention it. But let's keep on, educating ourselves on some of these things. Journalists are supposed to be updated all the time. Journalists are supposed to know each and everything that happens in this world. You shouldn't be caught unaware of whatever is happening. You may report information that is outdated. You may quote a law that is outdated. You may quote something that is not there as a journalist. But you need to be updated. You need to be up to date as a journalist, a professional journalist, I would say. Because these days they say even myself, I'm a journalist. I can post something, some information, and I say it is from this source here, and yet I can't defend it. And I want to talk about this issue of us failing to report some of these cases simply because it's against a police officer, and the case you try to register at a police station has been rejected. The police are not helping you. Nowhere to go next. If a police officer has refused to register a case simply because the case is against their colleague, what next for you? Do you have to go back home and say that is all? Or do you have to take another step and go to another office? Nowhere to go next. We have the office of the RDC there. We have Uganda Human Rights Commission is there. We have PSU that is still police, yes. But we also have the courts of law. Colleagues, I want to bring this to our attention, that in 2012, Uganda came up with its own law against torture. We are all aware of that. If there are some who are not aware of it, that law is there. And it brought in the issue of individual responsibility. Not again to say that it's the Attorney General. The police officer has beaten you, so it is the Attorney General to be, sued. And then in 2019, the government of Uganda came up with Human Rights Enforcement Act. This law also brings in the issue of individual liability. If a police officer, Okello, for example, has beaten you, you don't have to look for Attorney General. Just go to court and lodge a complaint against this police officer, Okello. So many cases have been had in the courts of law. So many cases have been, judgments have been delivered. Just recently, I've been reading some case, the judgment that was delivered just last week of some police officers, some UPDF officers who beat up some of the civilians, and now the court has given its judgment and it says these UPDF officers have to pay a fine to the tune of 100 million, 50 million, 80 million to different civilians whose rights were violated. So let us not keep quiet simply because a police officer in a police station A has refused to register our complaint, to register our case. Let's know where to go next. We have our toll-free lines. You can call and we guide you. You can come to our office. We can advise you on how to go about it. But for you to keep quiet, for you to sit down and say, now that these people have refused to register my complaint, let me go back home. Next time we shall bring it up in a meeting, in a dialogue like this. Doesn't help you. As you do that, time is also going. You know, let us know where to go next in case the police officers refuse to register our cases. About Afande Asea here and the RDC talked about the recruitment of the UPDF and police officers, the recent recruitments. Yeah, it is true. We have been recruiting graduates. That's true. But we still have those errant officers, even among the graduates. They still have that element, you know, of torture as a solution to certain issues. For example, if they allege that you have a gun, torture will have to be there. Torture will have to be there. So we still have those errant officers, but I want to tell you why right now in this country, why we don't have so many torture issues, so many human rights issues regarding these officers who have been recruited recently, is because their courses have the human rights element. Human rights have been incorporated in their courses. Human rights have been incorporated in their trainings. So as they come out, they know at least a bit of human rights. So whoever participates in violating the human rights of either journalists or any other person does it while knowing that this is very wrong. The law is very clear. Colleagues, let us know where to go. Let us know the laws that protect us. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, we have soft copies. Can we download and we read? Can we get to understand which laws protect us? You know, apart from the Constitution. You know, even that Human Rights Enforcement Act, they also have soft copies. Can we download and we read so that in case of anything, we are able to go to court? In the court, when it comes to that law, that new law of 2019, it doesn't matter which language you go and use in the court. It allows any language. That is the beauty of that law. Whether you go there and you speak Lukbara, or you go and speak Kakwa, or you go and speak Ateso, or you go and speak which language, they'll reduce it in writing, and they'll use the court language, which is the English. So it doesn't matter whether you know English or not. Don't fear. Go to court and also tell this to your relatives. There's always an element of people fearing court, that when I go to court, what language will I use? When I go to court, people in the court are not friendly. When you go to court, the magistrate, the prosecutors, these are all human beings. And they know things to do with the human rights. Going forward, as Uganda Human Rights Commission, as we head to 2025 to 2026, we have lined up a number of activities for both the journalists, the duty bearers, and the general public to educate on issues of human rights, duties, and responsibilities. Come January 2025, we shall kick off with those activities. I thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Bosco. With that submission, we have come to the end of our dialogue today. But it's not me to declare it closed. RDC is going to do that. Allow me to my colleagues share with you this summary. As we continue to carry on with our duties, today let's take to action to to end impunity and crimes against journalists as they carry on with their duties. So apart from all these things we have mentioned, these key ones have been highlighted. We need to be aware about the legal protections. We need safeguarding journalists, implement measures to protect us from the violence, intimidation, and imprisonment, and also the reporting mechanisms, just as Mr. Bosco highlighted. We need to promote transparency. This calls all the stakeholders, as journalists, as duty bearers, as civil society organization, all the partners. We need to promote transparency. Of course, this will encourage actions and decisions that facilitate access to information that we as journalists we need to report effectively. And also we need to combat misinformation. This we had it from also the duty bearers. Some of us, we don't really verify it to the truth. And all of us, we need to support media independence. We don't need to stifle that freedom. All of us, we need to promote media freedom, and we should encourage ethical standards as we carry on with our duties and responsibilities. From our discussions, some of us, we go through, our safety gets compromised because we adopt unethical methods to access information and so on. Then we end up being harassed or intimidated. And then lastly, we need to keep engaging in partnerships. Of course, alone, you cannot do much. Human Rights Commission is a key partner. Government is a key partner. Civil society network is partner. All these media houses, we need to work together. And that's why we'll continue to thank our regional body, that is the West Nile Press Association, and the African Center for Media Excellency, together with the DK in Uganda, that is the Dance Embassy, for making it possible for us to have today's dialogue. With this, I thank all of you for turning up. You really had civil engagements in other places, but you opted to prioritize this. Forever will be grateful to you for this. There will not be another plenary discussion. We had to merge the two so that it is more participatory, no section seats waiting for the other to finish. Of course, other partners, like the cultural leaders, they also got engaged. They wanted to make submission and leave. And we also appreciate the mayor in his absentia for turning up to open the discussion. Really, this shows how cooperative we work in West Nile. Let's encourage this. With these few remarks, I want to hand over to RDC to close. After that, I will ask one member to pray. Our lunch is ready. From here, we'll proceed for our lunch. Yes, RDC, you're most welcome.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot has been said, shared, and I'm sure we've learned. I really want, in a very special way, thank the people who have supported this engagement, ACME Africa, and other partners. We thank you so much as government. This is something that we, if funds allow, we should always have it quite frequently so that we get to close the gap that has been created. And I want to continue encouraging you that these offices we sit in are yours. Like Mayor said, we are just taking care of them. So kindly feel free to come and interact with us. I really feel lost some facing challenges. Honestly, I don't feel good. I have interacted with the 3/4 of the journalists here, and I can confirm that even when there were those a few isolated cases, we still have a very candid relationship. And I want to encourage you to continue working. But most importantly, if you feel I can do it better in a certain way, we can compare notes. We can, nobody knows it all. We can work together. Please, I am always available. I want to thank all of you. There are cases, I get a call for a talk show at 6 p.m. and the call is coming at 4 p.m. Because I also do understand sometimes you go through challenges, the person who was supposed to come tells you he's not coming, and I come. This is the kind of working relationship I want to encourage us. There are those cases where you find yourself on the wrong side of security, you are, engaged in some battles with security. Let us report those cases. At least I'm sure you have some of us like me as your own brother, because when we look at ourselves as brothers and sisters, then it becomes almost impossible for us to again harassing you, to start, inflicting pain on you. We are here because we believe that you play a very big role in trying to echo our voice down on ground and also market this country across. Like I said, yes, there are some things that don't go on well in this country, but let us try to magnify those good ones, because we are marketing Uganda across the borders, okay? There are some of those things that we can sit down and say, okay, there is this, there is that. He rightly put it. It is a bit disturbing that sometimes a journalist who is considered to be a custodian of information does not even know where to go in a situation of maybe harassment. My sister, don't be tempted to publish the list of some of us who have approached you and we have not met your minimum requirements. It is normal. We have also ever received those offers, but these are things that happen in life. I really want to thank all of you who have braved your time to be here up to now, especially the religious leaders, my senior brother, Aluma. Thank you so much for coming. And my brother from the Diocese of Mahdi and West Nile. Yes, thank you so much. The civil society organization, thank you for coming. We are trying to make sure this country is a safer place to live in. Don't make it unsafe for me as a female journalist, because now you are intimidating me to come and interact with you. It is our collective responsibility to create this safe environment, safe space to operate in, but also to secure you while you are doing your job. Sometimes you face those things at your workplaces and you are dying with them silently. You can confide in us. We monitor both private actors and public government actors. So we shall also take it a step ahead and interact with them at a certain level. There was a very disturbing video which was circulating as I conclude. It is very unfortunate that I always talk when announcement for food has just been made. So you saw what some woman was doing. I don't know. Most of the bad things happening of late are women. I think we really have something to do. Women. They are strangling a kid, it is a woman doing that. In Lazebo, I handled a case of a woman who pushed the hands of a kid in fire because she ate, I think, food that was kept for the next meal. She held the hands, pushed in fire. When you said, sometimes those course units are very important. I went and sat with this woman. Then I realized I think she's doing some of those things out of frustration. This is a lady who conceived twice and lost her babies, and then she realized she's living positively. It is sometimes human for her to behave the way she did. Because the thing was all over social media, and we handled the case. Now there is this one here. A woman defecating on a kid, urinating, giving the kid to drink the urine, as if that is not enough. You even want the kid to eat the feces sincerely. So let us work together to make this country a better place. For the female journalists, let us work together. If there is anything, let's consult. I will share my number with those of you who do not have, so that we do not go through what we have been going through again. 0773 0773 0773 888 783. I want to thank you once again. I thank the Almighty God for all this. As we come to a close, I do not want to close, but rather adjourn, because I'm sure by the grace of God we shall have another one soon. I take this opportunity to adjourn this engagement for God and my country.